And we're now going to be speaking to both Spencer Oliver and Gareth A. Davis, who are at the press conference for Alexander Usyk's fight with Daniel Dubois. Gentlemen, hello.
Sam, Alex, how are you both doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Listen, Alexander Usyk against Daniel Dubois takes place in Wrocław in Poland on August the 26th. What can we expect from today? Can you set the scene for us, boys?
Well, listen, it's a huge opportunity for Daniel Dubois, isn't it? You know, to get this opportunity to fight Alexander Usyk and go and nick the belts from him out in Poland is huge. You know, Daniel Dubois is young, you know, he's fearless, and he'll try and take this opportunity. He's had a great training camp with Don Charles. They've been out in Spain, finishing the training camp out there, and apparently he's firing on all cylinders. He knows the mammoth task he's got ahead. He's not stupid. He knows he's a huge underdog, but he said he wants to take that opportunity, ripped up the script, and go in there and pull off one of the biggest upsets in recent times.
And the undertones of this, of course, are that Frank Warren's guy, Daniel Dubois, the young upstart, is challenging Alexander Usyk for 3 of those belts. And in the background, of course, they've just announced that Tyson Fury is going to face Francis Ngannou in a crossover fight in Saudi Arabia in the Riyadh season. And of course, we're expecting a little bit of venom between them all today, because Alexander Krasiuk, Alexander Usyk's promoter, has said things about Tyson Fury this week. So we're expecting, I think, a vitriolic press conference, even though it's about Dubois and Usyk today.
Yeah, obviously, we'll talk about Ngannou and Fury a little bit later on, because that in itself probably deserves quite a lengthy debate. But on Daniel Dubois, he is a big underdog, as you say. But is it refreshing from him, Spencer, that he's taking on such a daunting opponent? He's willing to put himself in the firing line.
Absolutely, of course it is, you know, and I think it's refreshing for boxing fans as well that we're finally getting all these heavyweight fights over the line. It's been a frustrating time for the fans, you know, but we're now hearing about these fights that are sort of materialising, and, you know, not forgetting Joe Joyce and Zhilei Zhang, the rematch on September the 23rd as well. But yeah, this is big for Daniel Dubois. This is what I like about the sport of boxing. You know, when you get the opportunity, he's not allowed politics to get in the way. He's not allowed money to get in the way. He's thought, you know what? It's about opportunity. If he wins his fight, he puts himself right up there and he changes his life forever. So he's taking that and he wants to take it with both hands. Yeah, this kid is really up for it.
It's a very, very difficult fight for him. Obviously, the venue is only 50 miles from Ukraine. It's going to be packed. The tickets are cheap. It's going to be a packed venue for Alexander Usyk. It's like a homecoming for him, this fight. Daniel Dubois, when he goes to Poland to fight Usyk on August the 26th, is going there for experience as well. He may not win this fight, but it's a big moment in his career. He's still a very young man in his mid-20s. He's still going to be around when this current crop of Wilder, Fury, Usyk are all gone. So this is a massive opportunity, but it's also a massive learning fight for him, believe it or not, as well.
It totally is, but what I do know about Daniel is that, you know, he is young, he is explosive, he's got dynamite in that right hand, and he's going to go out there and he's going to try and unsettle Alexander Usyk. I think the thing for him here is he's got to take Usyk out of his rhythm early, because if he allows Usyk to get in any sort of rhythm, Usyk's great at controlling the space. He makes fighters work when they don't want to work, and if that happens with Dubois, you know, you can see the second half of the fight, Dubois will start tiring, etc. He knows what's in front of him here. You know, they've studied this fight meticulously, and he's going to go in there and he's going to give it everything. And Gareth's right in what he said. You know, he's a huge underdog, but he sees that as, he's feeding off that. He sees that as no pressure on his shoulders, and he's going to go out there and give it everything.
Yeah, well, Usyk's 12-1 on, Sam. That's how big a favourite he is.
And you mentioned Frank Warren there. He told us earlier this week that Usyk's demands are, quote, insane. How much blame do you think he should take for the fact that he isn't stepping into the ring with Tyson Fury?
Well, you can blame the whole... Look, we've had a week in which, or a couple of weeks in which, as Spencer rightly mentions, we know that Zhilei Zhang Joyce 2 is happening. We now know that this is official on August the 26th. On Monday, of course, Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua are fighting. Suddenly the heavyweight division's on the move. Fury's fight is a crossover fight, which is an event, really. It's not a WBC title on the line. It cannot be. It simply cannot be. But I think what we've got is this heavyweight landscape has been frozen for so long because of the huge draw of Saudi Arabian money, and the pieces are just beginning to move now. I do think Usyk will beat Dubois. That's who I'm picking, and I do think we'll see Fury versus Usyk in the first third or quarter of next year.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Because for so long we've been sort of waiting for Fury versus AJ, Fury versus Usyk, subsequent to Usyk defeating AJ as he did. But if they do manage to come through these next two fights, which you expect both of them to do, then eventually, does it become inevitable? And what are the sort of the hurdles that are in between Usyk and Frank Warren's team coming to an arrangement to get this big super fight on in that first quarter of 2024?
Well, I think we're very close to that, if I'm totally honest. You know, negotiations have been had. It's been going back and forth, and I think that Skills Challenge and the promoters out there in Saudi Arabia, they just couldn't get it over the line in time. So all the fighters obviously wanted to stay active. We're pleased now that, as Gareth's mentioned already, we're getting all these fights over the line. I think it's imminent as well that we're going to get Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz Jr. mentioned sometime. That'll probably happen in September, October. So as long as all the guys come through and they're victorious, I think, like Gareth, we get this in the first quarter of the year. They'll probably land both guys, all four guys, fighting on one night. Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, and Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Fury. I think we get that. It's like a semi-final, and then we'll have the final, obviously, out there later on in the year. But that's the way I see it happening, and I think, Gareth, we're quite close to that now. I think negotiations and some agreements have been sorted.
I know we're going to, yes indeed, I know we're going to talk about Fury and Ngannou in the next section, but the fact that Frank Warren and Queensberry Promotions and Top Rank, Fury's promoters, have done a deal with Riyadh Season, it's called Riyadh Season, a 2-month period of events in our autumn, directly working with the Saudi government, it's a sign that all the boxes are being ticked for those fights to happen over there. As Spence rightly mentions, all 8 of the top heavyweights, if you like, are now going to be in action, or 7 of them, if you like. Yeah. And it does mean a lot for the division. We've talked about this probably for about a year and a half. There has been a movement and an appetite from the Saudi Arabians to throw huge money. It's been called a blessing and a curse. That's why we've had a frozen landscape for a long time, because everybody's waiting for those big paydays. Most of these fighters are getting up to their mid-30s, and they are looking for that big money. Money speaks in boxing. Boxing is a sport, but in the heavyweight division, it's a business. And that's what we are now. We're getting to the business end of it all, where the fans are frustrated. We are as frustrated ourselves. But we are finally seeing those chess pieces on that Game of Thrones finally move. And I do think we'll get the Clash of Titans next year in Usyk and Fury.
You've already alluded to the fact this is basically a home fight for Usyk. The stadium, I think, seats 45,000. Are we expecting it to be near to capacity? Is it going to be full?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be absolutely packed out there. Usyk's doing it. It's Independence Day out there in the Ukraine as well, just a couple of days earlier, and he's doing it for his people. He's passionate about his people, you know, and with what's been going on out in the Ukraine, he wants to give a little something back, and he felt that by doing it in Poland, just 50 miles from the border, it gives his people an opportunity to come and see him. It's going to be cheap, and it's going to be refreshing for the people to see their hero, their national hero, box in front of Daniel Dubois. He's taken a calculated gamble here with Daniel Dubois because he probably feels that, you know, this will be the right sort of opponent to make him look good as long as he can slip into some sort of rhythm. But Dubois wants to rip up that script. You know, he's got that confidence, he's young, and he fancies it.
That's the key thing, isn't it, Spencer? Ultimately, it's all right, all of us sitting here plotting a way through to what's going to happen in the first quarter of 2024. But the truth of the matter is that if Dubois does, and he has got an explosive right hand, if he does land something, he does pull off something special, then all of a sudden, everything changes again.
Sam, it rips up the whole script. If any one of them lose, it rips up the whole script, you know, because this is all. That's why I think the Saudis Skills Challenge, they didn't want these guys to go into these bouts before making the fights out there in December. So, but the guys obviously recognise they need to stay busy. They're all taking calculated gambles against good opponents, and the opponents see it as a huge opportunity. Listen, heavyweight boxing, man. You go back to 1990 when Buster Douglas ripped up the scripts and knocked out Mike Tyson out in Tokyo. You know, it does happen. Hussein Rahman knocked out Lennox Lewis. Oliver McCall knocked out Lennox Lewis. So heavyweight boxing, one shot changes everything. So everyone's got to be quite careful here, because at the end of the rainbow there's a huge pot of gold, but if one of them gets knocked out, then obviously things change.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.